Yo, what's going on, guys? GZTV back with another video, and we are here to review another installment in the mini movies that Stranger Things has been providing their fans for season 4. Absolutely fantastic. I've loved the first two episodes. I'm here to give you guys my thoughts and kind of tell you guys, recall the plot so you guys can kind of remember if you've already watched it. Again, spoiler alert, I do give away stuff that happens in the plot of TV shows. I do this with Breaking Bad. I'm going to do it with Stranger Things and possibly more TV shows in the future. But today we're going to be reviewing episode 3 and episode 4, obviously in separate installments. But here we go. You know, the Stranger Things kids are definitely in their elements in this one. Elle is taking the fate of the world in her hands yet again. Dustin, Steve, and the gang are teaming up to figure out how the hell to take down a slimy dark wizard monster. And Jonathan and Argyle are struggling to keep up with simple dinner conversation under the haze of that sweet, sweet purple palm tree delight. You know, they're definitely weed addicts, but yeah. The episode opens with new character Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan, who pays an official visit to Dr. Samuel Owens, who is now living in Ruth, Nevada. Sullivan is committed to ridding Hawkins of evil once and for all, which unfortunately he thinks can all be traced back to L. Brenner's little pet. He says that Dr. Brenner trained L for this exact thing, remote assassination. Dr. Owens insists that L is dead, but even after they do a thorough search of his entire house and find nothing, Sullivan will not be deterred. In California, Jonathan, Argyle, Elle, Will, and Mike are on their way back from the skating rink, and extremely stoned, Jonathan and Argyle try to make Elle feel better by saying that's why they make those wheels out of soft plastic, just in case someone gets smacked. Everyone needs a friend like Argyle, for some reassurance, by the way. They arrive at the buyer's house and are surprised to see Murray is there, making them a family dinner of risotto. He claims he was on his way to meet a client and just so happened to remember the buyers live around here. Joyce tells him she wishes he could stay longer, but she has that business trip in Alaska tomorrow. Will is confused because she never mentioned it until now, while Jonathan, on the other hand, is so high he confuses the wine for olive oil. Argyle tries to cover for him because poor, sweet Joyce somehow doesn't realize her son has been enjoying some of those smelly plants, and tells them he's just tired because they had a long night at the skating rink where some girl got smacked by a roller skate, but she's going to be fine. Mike, who has been sulking since they left the rink like the unsupportive boyfriend he is, Elle should dump his ass again, snarkily replies she didn't look fine. Elle looks at him hurt and storms out of the room. This is a very interesting relationship dynamic between Mike and Elle, I'm going to tell you. The next morning, Mike brings Elle her Eggos from the breakfast table when she doesn't come down to eat. She is in her room fixing her diorama of her and Hop's cabin. He sits on her bed, and they have a long overdue talk. Mike asks her why she didn't tell him what was really going on in California. He's been bullied his whole life, so he knows what it's like. Elle tells him he can't understand because she is different. She doesn't belong here or anywhere. To be fair, that is somewhat true to an extent. Everyone looks at her like she's a monster, including him. When Mike protests, Elle says he looked at her back at the rink like he was scared of her. Not only that, she points out, but he can't even tell her that he loves her anymore. He can't even write it in a letter. She pulls out a stack of letters and angrily flips through each one. They all read from Mike, which implies she's getting friend-zoned by this guy. Mike insists that she knows how he feels about her, and he can't let these mouth breathers ruin them. That's a great line, by the way, Mike. They are nobodies, and she is a superhero. Elle shakes her head and tells him not anymore. She doesn't have superpowers. Because Elle hasn't suffered enough this morning, the cops show up at her door with a warrant. They arrest her for the great roller skate accident of 1986 and shove her in the back of their cop car while Mike, Will, and Jonathan watch in stunned panic. How do you get arrested for hitting someone in the face with a roller skate? I guess that is kind of assault, but unfortunately for them, Joyce is already on the plane with Murray about to take off for her business trip, so there is nothing they can do but sit and wait while Elle gets questioned by the police. The cops tell Elle she doesn't seem too upset about what she did to Angela, who apparently has a grade 2 concussion. When they ask if she wanted to kill Angela, Elle replies that she doesn't know. Just between us, it's okay if you did, Elle. She's the worst. I would want to as well. They fingerprint her and stick her in a van to send her off to a juvenile delinquent center. On their way, they are stopped by a federal agent who says they'll take it from here. Owen steps out of the car and greets a surprised Elle with, "Hey, kiddo." Obviously, Elle probably knows who this guy is. I don't know. Owen takes Elle to a dinner and gives her the lowdown. A war is coming to Hawkins again. Elle has fought this evil before and won, but it's like a virus. Every time it returns, it comes back stronger, smarter, and deadlier. Elle's friends and Hawkins are in the eye of the storm, and this is Stranger Things. So 11 is obviously their only hope of survival. He tells Elle that there are people who believe she is the cause, but he believes that she is the cure. He developed a program that has the potential to restore her abilities and maybe even make them stronger than they were before. However, he knows that Elle has spent her whole life being told what to do by men like him, so it is her choice now if she wants to go with him. Elle agrees, obviously, because she is a badass whom the world doesn't deserve. In Russia, Hop is working on the railroad when he brazenly talks back to Enzo, who drags him off for punishment. Once they are out of sight, Enzo updates Hop and tells him that he heard from Joyce and that she will be arriving in Alaska tomorrow. It is up to Hop to find a way to make it to the plane to meet her there for the exchange. Hopper asks Enzo if he is absolutely sure they can trust this pilot, this supposed smuggler extraordinaire, Yuri. Enzo reminds him they are literally doing a jailbreak, so beggars can't be choosers. Hop bribes another prisoner with his meal to break his leg chains with a sledgehammer while they are on the tracks. The prisoner looks at him skeptically, calls him a crazy American, but agrees. Later, after Hop unwraps his feet, it becomes clear he wasn't asking for him to break the chains, but to break his ankles enough so that he can just barely slip the chains over his horribly injured feet. If Hop doesn't get to reunite with Elle after all of this, the directors have to pay for our subsequent therapy appointments. Come on, this has to happen sometime in the show. In Hawkins, Vecna is meditating and zeroing in on his next victim, Patrick, one of Lucas's teammates. Patrick, wincing at a sudden headache, is in the car with Jason and his boys, including a reluctant Lucas, hunting for Eddie. They stop at a house where Eddie's bandmates and fellow Hellfire Club members are practicing in the garage, and Jason starts beating up Gareth, who finally tells him Dustin Henderson might know where Eddie is because he's been calling around looking for him. They pull up to Justin's house, which is empty, and Lucas sneaks through the window of Dustin's room to walkie him and forewarn him. Jason and the rest of the team catch Lucas, and he quickly lies and tells them he found a clue that could point them to where Eddie is. He leads them to Hopper's cabin and abandons them when they aren't looking. Meanwhile, Dustin, Max, Robin, and Steve visit Eddie at Reefer Rick's and deliver the bad news, which is that everyone is pretty convinced that he killed Chrissy. The good news is Dustin says his name hasn't gone public, so that gives them time to do the totally simple task of finding Vecna and proving Eddie's innocence. The gang tries to comfort a panicked Eddie by reminding him that this is not their first rodeo, although they used to have a girl with superpowers to help them out, but now they don't, so they're still in the brainstorming phase. While they're talking, they see a bunch of cop cars speeding by. They quickly hop in Steve's car and follow them to the scene of Vecna's latest crime, the road outside the trailer park where poor Fred's body lies twisted and mangled. A shaken Nancy, who's talking to the cops, looks so relieved to see them. They catch Nancy up on what they know. They realize that Chrissy and Fred acted strangely before their deaths and wonder if they might have seen Vecna before he killed them, like how a predator stalks its prey. Max remembers how Chrissy was coming out of the consular's office the other day, which means maybe Miss Kelly knows something that could help them. Steve and Dustin drop Max off at Miss Kelly's, where she pretends she needs an impromptu home session, while Nancy and Robin go to the public library to follow a lead, and Nancy calls a shot in the dark. Nancy fills Robin in on her Victor Creel theory, but also seems inexplicably annoyed with her. Robin in turn picks up on the weird tension and asks if it has anything to do with Steve, whom she insists is only a friend with a capital P for platonic. Steve and Nancy shippers are rising this season, it looks like. While looking through the basement archives, they come across an old article from the Weekly Watcher, a small press that writes about UFOs and Bigfoot and other otherworldly sightings. The article shares Victor Creel's side of the story. Victor claimed that his house was haunted by an ancient demon. His family hired a priest to do an exorcism, which not only failed but also made the demon angry, so it killed his family in retribution, leaving Victor alive as punishment. What if this demon Nancy and Robin realized was Vecna? At Miss Kelly's house, Max tries and fails to subtly get Miss Kelly to tell her what Chrissy said to her during their sessions. Luckily, Max is able to snatch her office keys when she isn't looking, so she, Dustin, and Steve hightail it to school before she notices and breaks into her office files. While they're reading through Miss Kelly's notes, a look of realization slowly passes over Max's face. Miss Kelly wrote that Fred and Chrissy were both suffering from headaches, nosebleeds, nightmares, and past trauma, all of which Max has been suffering from herself. Right on schedule, she hears the chime of the clock and Vecna's gravelly, drawn-out voice calling out to her. She slowly walks down the school hallway and sees a clock inside the wall. Once again, Vecna calls out to her, and the camera zooms in on him, charging up with his creepy, crawly tentacles. His eyes flash open, and the episode abruptly ends. So that's kind of the end of the episode. Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 3. I don't really like, honestly, like, I kind of have to cram this show in before vacation, and that's probably not something you guys want. You guys probably want me to take it an episode at a time, and I will tonight. I'm only going to watch one episode after work tonight, but, like, I don't like watching its consecutive episodes because, to be honest, I only remember the recent episode, and I only have enough like passion about an episode to talk about it if I've just recently watched it, and that's kind of what I'm doing with Breaking Bad. I don't want to go on a binge spree because I want to watch an episode a day and kind of give you guys my full thoughts on it. Obviously, those episodes are on smaller scales than Stranger Things because they are, yeah, like half an hour shorter, a full half an hour shorter than Stranger Things. Like, you get a movie every episode with Stranger Things. I've said this to you guys before, but I don't know, man. I don't really. I do remember this episode. I do remember her coming in contact with Vecna, and obviously, the symptoms are leading her to think that she could die in the next 24 hours, which we will talk about in episode 4. Again, I know I'm at the end of this episode, at the end of this review, but if you haven't watched episodes of Stranger Things, do not come to my channel and watch these reviews because they are spoiler heavy. And matter of fact, I literally just gave you guys the whole plot of the episode in under 15 minutes, which is pretty impressive, actually, to kind of break down the show. And shout out to the Collider, they gave me the plot. But, the show is continuing to show struggles of love, showing mental health struggles, and Vecna's kind of the mental health demon, if you will, punishing people for feeling depressed, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's a big old symbol. I don't know why my eyes... I look really tired, but trust me, guys, I got plenty of sleep last night. I mean, I woke up at like 7 in the morning, and then I went back to sleep for like 3.5 hours. I don't know when I fell asleep either. It might have been like 2 o'clock. So, I got like 8 hours of sleep. I don't know. My body's kind of weird, guys. I apologize for going off on a tangent about that. But, this show's really good. Now, to be honest with you, I think the first 2 episodes are better than the second 2 episodes, and it's kind of hard to beat a series premiere because it kind of introduces you to this whole new story. You know, there's kids in high school, they're reliving the struggles that, I didn't really live through. It's kind of over-exaggerated in television. It's kind of dramatic in television, like getting bullied. I never got bullied in high school. You know, you can say you did, but really, bullying is a pretty harsh way to say a lot of things that happen in high school. But, it just introduced this new idea. It introduced some new characters. Obviously, some characters that were very short-lived in this series. But, yeah, introduced a lot of new characters. And this episode actually introduced a character. So that was kind of interesting. Another piece to the puzzle of Eleven's original story is this scientist. She might know him. I don't know. But, that's going to do it. I got to kind of close this out because I have a whole another Stranger Things episode to give you guys a review for. And, yeah. Let me know if you have any other TV show suggestions. Now, if I've already seen the show, I will probably respond and say I've seen the show. But, yeah.